As I alluded to earlier in the service, the message that I had planned to give this morning, I found overtaken on Friday by the tragic events that took place on Brookside Drive. 4 people, 2 of them police officers, were very violently and very cruelly taken from us. Their names have been released by the police and the city authorities. They are Donald Robichaud, Bobby Lee Wright, Constable Rob Costello of the Fredericton Police Force, and Constable Sarah Burns of the Fredericton Police Force. In their memory, you will see 4 candles have been lit and will burn through the service as a memorial. And if you'll allow, this morning's message, I will offer a meditation on loss, on grief, on fear, and finally, on love. First, loss. Four people have gone from us. They may have been a friend, a loved one, a mother, or a father. Or we may not have known them at all, and yet we still feel a sense of loss. To their friends and family, there's now a gaping hole where just a week ago, there was a person. I'm told that between them, the 4 victims of Friday's violence leave 10 children behind. And even if we didn't know them, as I said, we still may feel a sense of loss. For what is lost is more than individuals. Fredericton lost a bit of its innocence on Friday. A sense, even if it was only imagined, of security. We all know things like this happen, but until this week, we could tell ourselves they didn't happen here. That kind of thing takes place in the States, and then it happened in Canada. Oh, that kind of thing only happens in big cities, and it happened in Moncton. Oh, well, that's far away. That's not here. It could never happen here. And then it did. We feel this loss. We feel it very deeply. But in our grief, we can find comfort in the thought, as I mentioned, that God is with us through good times and bad, through joy and through sorrow. Jesus imparted to his followers this wisdom: "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." What that comfort may be, we may not yet know, but it will come. It comes from above, and it comes from each of us. We are there to be a comfort for each other, for those who need us in tragic times. The psalmist wrote that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. We can have faith that though our weeping may endure, the joy will come. For those who were lost, there is also solace to be found. Again, Jesus tells his followers that in my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? Heaven has many rooms, more than enough for all who need them. I have no doubt that these 4 people have met their welcome at the gates of heaven, have been told, welcome. Two of the victims were members of the Fredericton police force, responding to a call of shots fired that sad Friday morning, doing their jobs, serving and protecting all of us. They died in the line of duty. They died in service to us. Jesus teaches, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. I think on that verse when I think on Rob Costello and Sarah Burns. The love they had for their city, their community, their neighbors, and the sacrifice they made to keep us safe. I'm sure that they were met at the gates of heaven and were told, well done, my good and faithful servants. They have gone to their reward. We who are left behind are left with many questions, trying to make sense of this senseless, terrifying event. In addition to our grief, there's also a sense of fear. Last night in my neighborhood, someone set off some fireworks. But I had to stop and think when I heard them. Are they fireworks? Or is it happening again? Oh God, I'm scared. That kind of fear may be understandable, but it's no way for a Christian to live. So much of the Bible is an exhortation against that kind of fear. Jesus is always telling his disciples, don't be afraid. Growing up, I remember in the catechism the different things that Sunday school students had to memorize in order to advance to the next grade. The 10 Commandments, the Lord's Prayer, the Nicene Creed, and the 23rd Psalm, to which my thoughts have turned quite a lot in the last 2 days. I wondered why, out of 150 Psalms, we would have to learn just that one at the time. Now I know that Psalm 23 is an antidote to fear. The words are reassuring, soothing. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. I won't read the whole psalm, but I think you get the gist. That part, and much of the Bible, boils down to, if I might paraphrase with a phrase folks these days are fond of using, God telling his people, don't worry, I got this. Give your fear to God. He's with you. We have nothing to be afraid of. He loves us. And it is on that subject of love that I turn now to what for me was perhaps the most difficult part of this message. And that is the love we are commanded to give in the Bible. Love not just for our friends, but for our enemies. And so I'll say another name, that of the perpetrator of the terrible violence of Friday, the accused, Matthew Raymond. This man, by his actions, has shown himself to be an enemy to this city, an enemy to peace and order. And yet, Jesus was very clear that we are commanded to love our enemies. Christian love seems quite radical by times. In fact, it is our natural, intended condition. God means for us to live and to love this way, but the world has conditioned us to find it strange. Things such as forgiveness and love for enemies. Easier still, easier just to love our own, to love our friends, to love what is familiar and hate what is strange, to love what is good and to hate what is evil. But that's not what Jesus taught. Jesus taught a universal, unconditional love. And so I ask you, though it may be difficult, to keep not only the victims of Friday's violence, but also the cause of Friday's violence in your thoughts and in your prayers. Let him stand as a reminder that he is a child of God, no less than any of us, that though he is a sinner and will face justice, we too are sinners, and we too will face justice. Let us remember that as we hope to be forgiven, so we too must forgive. Let us be reminded that God is a God of love, of justice, and of mercy. And finally, let us remember God's forgiveness is there for all who truly repent and seek it. And none of us is beyond redemption. I would like to end this morning's message in a somewhat unusual way, but one I think is appropriate for the topic. Would you all please rise if you are able and join me in the singing of Amazing Grace? It's in your hymn book, number 670. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 3, and 6. Please join me.